AI has a lot for organizations to offer.
Yeah.
I think the question organizations need to think about is, are we talking about robots or are we talking about artificial intelligence?
Yeah. Split the two out. Which do you want?
And what are we actually trying to do with it? Do we need something that can learn to do the job? Or can we stop at saying, right, type it in, here's your program, that's all we need you to do.
Yeah.
And also going back to what you said is never ever lose fact that human influence pretty much needs to be in most of the way we work in a business.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of The Corporate Show with your host, me, ManjeetNijjer. Thank you for joining me again. I really appreciate you taking the time out to watch all of these little episodes that I've been putting together, since lockdown, since it all started. So thank you again for watching. So this week, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, or AI as it's commonly known. Now, some of you may have seen films over the years. There's one for me that springs to mind, which was I, Robot with Will Smith. And that's all around artificial intelligence, or where it can actually really go to. Well, we're not going to go to that extreme at the moment. And my guest, I'm sure you've recognized him, is the wonderful David Smallwood. Hello, David. How are you?
Good. How are you, Manjeet?
You're back again.
I am. I'm back because you asked me to be here, and I'm always happy to be here.
But you just can't get enough of talking to my guests, can you? My viewers. You can't get enough of talking to them. I know what you're like. You like to share the knowledge that you've gained, and I really appreciate that, and I know they do as well.
That's it.
So, artificial intelligence. What about it? What is it? Why is it important?
So, artificial intelligence is a new evolution, and I want to take away the word new evolution. So artificial intelligence is a way for you to look at automation, but allow something to learn, to be able to do it without having to tell it to do it every 5 seconds. So what a lot of companies are looking at doing right now is putting in these artificial intelligence robots to automate some of their, I want to call it mundane tasks.
Yeah.
Okay, so a big supporter of this is the Chartered Institute for IT, also known as the British Computer Society. So they've ran foundation and essential certificates in AI now. But the reasoning behind it is because companies are talking about AI like it's, how do I put it? It's the next big thing, which I'm not going to say it's not, but companies are going, we need this AI stuff. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you need AI? So if we go back in the past to Sakishi Toyoda, who is the founder of Toyota, he created this idea with his looms of automation or autonomous automation. And the idea was to be able to have some sort of automation or automation of these, but have still the human influence or human factor.
Yeah.
So this idea is relevant today when you go into a Tesco's or Sainsbury's and you see 6 cash registers, all automated, with one person stood there to, if there's the red light, go check your ID for buying.
So the express checkouts.
That's it.
Yeah.
So this was the evolution of that automation. Now we're trying to take another step forward and saying, what if those machines could actually learn and do it by themselves without the human factor? So where do you, Manjeet, where do you think we might run into problems with AI before we talk about the positives?
Emotional intelligence. It springs to mind straight away. Where there's a human there, they can be empathetic, they can understand where I'm coming from. Where if it's a system or a machine, how is he going to empathize with me if I'm if I'm trying to scan something and it's not scanning and I'm getting a bit frustrated. Whereas if it was you, you'd come along, you'd help me, you'd maybe help to calm me down. How's the system going to be able to do that for me? It's not going to be able to read me as a human being.
No, it'll just say, slow down, quit being stupid, slow down, slow down.
Yeah.
Oh, smash the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me put it in a different perspective.
Okay.
You are a contractor who provides weaponry to the military. You do drones.
Mm-hmm.
There are now actually robots that they could put in the field as AI. So the evolution of military is all wireless and humans not being there on the battlefield. So what's the danger of having artificial intelligence robots in place?
Oh, if they're learning as they're going along, they're going to be making decisions, which myself as a human being wouldn't do. I don't want to make those decisions about maybe bombing or killing or, whatever it is. I don't want to be making those. I need to think those through. Or if it's AI, it will just look at the situation based on the data that's been fed back, make a decision saying, okay, the decision made like that. I'm going to bomb here, kill this, do that, do that.
Yep. Okay. I would 100% agree. So there's a lot of different articles online, which is, so positives of AI. If we could take some mundane tasks and allow artificial intelligence to automate it and learn and do the work, there's so much things we could do. Like Japan actually has a AI or robot, and I want to separate robot from AI. Robot can only do what it's programmed to do. AI has a programming, but then it's left to learn. Okay, so there is a robot receptionist in a Japanese company.
Okay.
Really strange looking. It is quite human.
Wasn't she? I'm saying she, female. Wasn't she on the breakfast TV channels? I think. If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite scary looking at her because it was just like, really? This is a human-esque person.
It looks like something from a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
But you look at that robot, and basically, if she talks to you on the phone, she has voice recognition. So when you come in to see her, she could recognize you right off the way. Hi, Manjeet. Based on your tone and your inflections, the robot can then read what kind of mood or attitude you're having. So if you're very harsh with her, she'll look timid to reflect that type of emotion. But it's not really technically artificial intelligence because it's not learning. It's just absorbing that data and information. It's programmed to do certain things. Now take that receptionist and make it artificial intelligence.
Okay.
As people come in and out, speak to her, she'd be able to learn and create her own ideas on these people. So let's just say you came in, you were in a bad mood, you saw the robot, you treated her bad. I know you never do that, but you just were, get me who I've asked to, get me to him. And that artificial intelligence, you haven't programmed. So that AI might learn that, well, Manjeet's always an angry person.
Yeah.
Her attitude with you might change, and it might change into something quite unacceptable. So if people are interested in AI, it's a really good topic, but AI is limited to us. So we can only program something up to a certain point, and then we try to allow it to learn. So there's some really good articles. So Facebook created chatbots.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get two chatbots to negotiate over a trade. Okay. And so what they did is they started beeping at each other. So I think the names I can't remember, but let's just call them Bob and Alice. So
I remember the article. I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bob would say, I can, everything else. Alice would go, balls have zero, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me. Bob would say, you, I, everything else. Alice would, what happened was the chat bots actually started, so everybody thought it was a glitch. And Facebook shut it down because they didn't, what happened was the two chat bots formed their own kind of shorthand understandable language. So there was keywords, and because there was keywords, nobody understood what they were talking about, so they eventually shut it down.
There's AI right there. They're learning from each other, aren't they? Develop their own language and off they go.
That's it. There's a conspiracy online, but there was 4 AI robots that some scientists created, and supposedly the robots killed 29 scientists. It's more of that was in 2018. That's more of a conspiracy theory. Microsoft ended up having an AI chatbot that they actually stopped because it was learning too much.
Smarter than them.
So it basically hooked up online, and it learned way too much in too quick of a period of time. So the underlying other reasons they've ended it, you will never know, but those are some of the rumors. There was a show.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, there was one that I caught on the news last week, and it was a satellite that I think China did. And China wanted to make the satellite fully AI. Was it China? I'm pretty sure it was. But they sent the satellite.
Yeah.
Or sent this. Sorry, it was a pod that was going to dock with the satellite.
Okay.
And the pod decided it was going to, for some reason, on a test, fire its burners and run into the satellite and destroy the satellite. Now, the question begins, did it malfunction? Or did the satellite, or did that pod know that its only purpose in life was to come around this satellite and then go back to Earth? And the question is, at that point, did the pod, knowing that its only purpose was to do that and then its life was going to be ended, decide to take out the satellite? So AI, interesting conversation.
How can it help day-to-day business?
So how could it help? If we do it effectively, what you're doing is automating certain things or putting into place artificial intelligence, which can learn and basically, so for example, automated process. If any little glitches happen in a process, the AI would learn from that and be able to fix those problems as it goes along.
Yeah.
We can automate standard processes. So, think people like you, me and you, we're not wasting our time on something that's mundane, like hitting a switch every so often. We can get AI to do that. And I mean, you could put our resources to something else useful.
So, I mean, taking it like very, very basic level, things have changed now a lot. Before, let's take password resets as an example. If you needed your password to be reset, you'd have to send an email from somebody else's system. So you get your password reset, and it would take time because a person did it. Now, if you forgot your password and you need it reset, it's click a button and you get a temporary password, allows you to log in, and then you can make the changes. So where would AI fit into something like that, or doesn't it?
So HMRC's got a really cool one. It's a chat bot. So one of my friends was doing his taxes, and he lost his government gateway ID to be able to log into HMR's website. And then this little chat bot comes up and it says, what are you looking for? And he says, I've lost my user ID and everything else. And it says, oh, I can help you with that. I'm going to ask you a series of 6 questions. If you get it right, then I'm going to email you. Goes on and, puts the 6 answers in. One of the answers he wasn't sure about. and it rejected it.
Okay.
If you would have got it. So if we take that a step further into the AI world, at that point, the chatbot could go back and say, you've missed one of the answers. This is the question. Why did you miss it? And then he could have said, I've changed my address. Right. Okay. Let's change your address first in your account. So actually, all of that could be done with an AI.
It's interesting. Interesting. You can take it to that point where it's picking things up and saying, okay, why haven't you completed that?
Yeah. But that's the learning aspect of AI. But again, once, we got to really consider this, because we can only guide AI to do something. At that point, we relinquish control over it and expect it to learn. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it's going to learn what we expect it to learn.
See, that's just it. And I think that's where a lot of people start getting a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit twitchy, and saying, okay, I don't have any control over this thing anymore. How do I know what it is going to learn? How do I know it's now not going to have control over me and my environment and, what actually happens? That's where the do we or don't we, how far do we go with AI? Question mark then comes into it. It's a big question mark.
Well, I asked that question. To just to throw a debate out with some anti and supportive AI people, because I just thought it'd be funny to watch them battle, really. But so I've got the really anti people, because it's not that completely against it. They know that we're restricted. So once you tell something to learn, it can learn what it wants to learn and what it's faced with. But if you expect it to learn a specific situation and it doesn't encounter that situation, and you don't know which way it's going to learn, it's like a kid, kids are a really good example of artificial intelligence. You have some kids that go burn their hand on the stove and they go, right, I'm not going to do that again. And then you got those ever once in a while rare kids that go, ooh, I like burning my hand on the stove. And you're like, no. But it's the same with AI. Yeah. We're asking them to learn, but in the environment that we've provided for them. Now you've got the pro AI that are like, oh, it's great. We can get AI to do a lot of stuff and we don't have to do it. So we can go do other things. But it comes, I think in the middle, it comes back to what you said. You can't teach AI emotional intelligence. Yeah. So a lot of these movies, like you said, iRobot and things, you look at the movies, and actually a lot of what they're doing in those movies, which we called sci-fi, is actually coming true. Yeah. But where do we sit with it?
Well, if you go back to, from my memories of sci-fi, there was Robbie the Robot. Yeah. Right? So that's my kind of like earliest memory of robots is, this box with the arms and things and whatever coming out of it. That's my initial, and then there was the toys around that and everything. That was my first kind of like encounter with a robot. And since then, things have obviously progressed and changed and so on. If you look at all the sci-fi that there is out there, the things that were predicted, even if you look at Back to the Future, when those films were made, right, the things that they saw in the future are now our reality.
Well, look at 3D TVs. There's Back to the Future. I think it was number 2 when they were in the future. And there was the 3D Jaws that come out of the screen. All of a sudden, one of the first movies that we have on proper 3D is Jaws. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, have you watched a movie or TV show? It's an old one called Lost in Space.
Oh, yes. I remember that one. Yeah.
Okay. So, robot off of that is a robot. It can only do what it's programmed to do, and that's it. And then, like you said, iRobot, you take it to the next level where you have robots that have programming, but actually they have their own artificial intelligence. So they can learn, they can do what they want as they learn. They can ignore those commands and choose their own. Yeah.
There's that cult film, Short Circuit.
Short Circuit,
number 5.
Johnny 5.
Yeah, and he says number 5 is alive.
Yep.
And you're like, ooh, okay. At the time when you watch it, as when I watched it, I love that film. When I first watched it, it was a bit like, oh, look, always cute. But look at the connotations behind it. when you start looking at it from, take off your movie glasses and look at it from where this is all leading to, it's moved on so much further from that, from having this cute little robot that says, I'm alive, don't cut me off kind of thing, to films like AI and so on and so forth. And our reality now, given that we're all in a semi-lockdown, we're not in lockdown anymore, but kind of like we're coming out of lockdown.
Yeah.
How can artificial intelligence actually take us out of lockdown and make our lives easier, in a sense, from an organizational perspective as well, especially if we're going to be working from home a lot more now?
It can automate a lot. Again, go back to automation. It can do a lot of the tasks that we can't do while we're in environments. So think of like NASA and stuff. If you had an AI robot that could go outside the spaceship, because it doesn't need to breathe, it doesn't need to eat, and it's not going to implode. So it's outside the spaceship. It can do the work and learn as it's going. There's lots of uses for AI. I guess the question goes back to what you said. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And where are we at with the technology now? Are we moving too fast and not asking the right questions? Because another show I was watching said that the next step from AI, which is where we're kind of also at, is they brought up RoboCop, the cyborgs. But actually, this is part of the AI robot evolution, is to augment humans with cybernetics or robot bits.
Haven't we already done that?
Yeah, but not to the same capacity.
Yeah, there are elements. I know I've seen some operations where, bits of the arm here was replaced, so somebody can now move their fingers, and it's mechanics.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating. It takes you back to, I don't know if you remember the program, the $6 Million Man.
Yep.
So, all of that, and the Bionic Woman and so on, because it's like.
I think the good question. Oh, sorry. I was saying, I think the good thing is AI has a lot for organizations to offer.
Yeah.
I think the question organizations need to think about is, are we talking about robots or are we talking about artificial intelligence?
Yeah. Split the two out. Which do you want?
And what are we actually trying to do with it? Do we need something that can learn to do the job, or can we stop at saying, right, type it in, here's your program, that's all we need you to do?
Yeah.
And also going back to what you said is never ever lose fact that human influence pretty much needs to be in most of the way we work in a business. So if you put a robot there, it does not have the same ability to use emotional intelligence. And I'll use the iRobot. I was in a driverless car, which was quite interesting. But with artificial intelligence and driverless cars, it goes to the scene where Will Smith, his car and another car had a wreck, and he had a slightly higher percentage chance of surviving than the people in the other car. So the artificial intelligence chose his life. We're programming things that will make decisions based on facts.
Yeah.
Whereas we will still make decisions based off of that human emotional bit.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's where we're going to have to leave it. That's
it. Thank you very much for having me again.
Thank you for coming on board. It's a fascinating subject, and I'm sure, it's not the end, it's just the beginning of where all this is going. But my concern, as you said, like everybody else's, is where do you actually draw the line? The ethics and values and so on. That's something that's going to be talked about for, I'm sure, in the years, weeks, months coming ahead. So thank you everybody for watching. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's been fantastic. I hope you have as well. So thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe and share with anybody who might find this helpful or fascinating as we have. And also hit the notification, the bell icon, so that when I come back on again with another guest, with another interesting topic, you'll get that notification. You can sit and watch and give us your feedback. So thank you again, and I will see you next time. Take care.